Hey guys, today we'll be doing the belts and the pulleys on this 2011 BMW 335i X-Drive with the N55 engine. Let's get started. Today it is November 2020, November 14th. I replaced my engine belts almost 2 years ago in February 2019, and it started squeaking as soon as the temperature dipped. In October, it started doing that pitching, squeaking again. I'm gonna let you guys hear. I'm gonna start the car up so you guys can hear. And once you hear that sound, it is time to change those pulleys and that engine belt. This video is gonna show you guys how to change your belts again. Last time it took me 20 minutes. I'm gonna see how long it takes me now. But a lot of things weren't clear in my previous video, so I'm gonna try to clear that up in this video. Also, I'm shooting this in 4K this time, guys, so you guys get a 4K experience. So let's hear these belts. It doesn't sound good, right? So I'm gonna get in there and change these belts now. Hey guys, I'm speeding up this part of the video twice as fast just to save on time, because I will be stopping to talk and show you guys how I'm doing this. But honestly, this DIY takes like 20 minutes. So I'm using a T20 Torx driver to remove the 2 screws that hold the front plastic trim for the air intake. There's also 2 plastic pins that I'm going to use basic pry tools to remove those. This DIY, as big as it is, requires very little tools other than the tools I'm using here, which is my trim removal tools and my T20 Torx driver. Not using much else. So this front air intake trim comes off real easily. The next part, this part you push in, and it has like an accordion springy thing that you push in, and it has 2 clips on the air filter box that just release. That's real simple. And that's that. On this particular car, I do not have to remove the fan or the coolant hose at the top there to access my pulleys and belts. If you have a 1 Series or I believe other BMWs with the N55 engine, you may have to remove those parts. I do not on the 3 Series E90 with the N55. I'm checking my belts to make sure everything's good. Now, before I remove my belts, which I'm going to do next, I'm going to draw a diagram showing where my pulleys and my belts are routed on this particular engine. Even if you follow a Bentley manual online guide, sometimes your engine will be different, especially if you're using like if you have a F30 3 Series or earlier N54 engine, your belts will run differently on the pulleys. So I draw this, what I see, so when it's time to put them back together, I'll know exactly what was there. I'm not guessing, so it's, you know, it's fairly like insurance, so you don't put anything back the wrong way. And there you go. You could also label the pulleys if you want, and that's pretty much it. It's time to remove the belts. I have my Torx driver, my T60 and T50. So to remove the belts, I'm gonna pry up the tensioner there with my breaker bar. I have a breaker bar, so I'm gonna just release the tension. That's taking a T60 Torx driver. It's a big chunky guy for a Torx driver. So that's real simple. As you're watching this, that's how easy this is. So that's, I'm not even strong. You don't need any type of muscles to do that. Just use that breaker bar, and having the right tools in this is very important. So that's it. Don't, you know, if you have a short ratchet handle, it might be a little stiffer, but use a long breaker bar. It's easy to get out. The belts come out that easy. I'm going to spend maybe a minute just inspecting it, because this is going to tell you kind of what's happening inside the engine bay. If you do hear the squeaking and rattling, sometimes your belts could be frayed, so you're going to just inspect it real quick. I always do that just to see, so I know what's happening before I put new belts in the system, new pulleys in the system. I know if oil is leaking, if anything is leaking onto the belts, I'll know by inspecting. Very important you do this. Don't just pull it out and throw it away. Next, I'm going to get my T50 Torx driver to remove the actual pulleys. I'm going to start with the topmost pulley. The tensioner pulley system. It's a dual pulley on the that bolt, but you only remove 1 bolt on that, the upper bolts on this tensioner pulley. Even though it's two pulleys, it's only held onto the car with the one bolt at the top. And that's it. So what I did was I just loosened it up. But because there's not a lot of space to navigate, I'm just unscrew it with my hand as well as using the Torx driver. Just a Torx driver bit and my fingers to rotate it out. I'm also going to do the same procedure for the other pulleys down below. I'm going to use the breaker bar with the Torx driver to like loosen it and then just unscrew it with my hand. The engine was hot for some reason because I did want to show you guys the rattling. So my engine got really hot, so I had to put these gloves on. So have gloves handy. That's it. I'm inspecting it. Always inspect what you pull out of your car, because when you put new things in, you want to know what's happening before you put new things in. So I inspect that. It doesn't look like that's covered in oil. My engine is leaking a bit of oil from the oil filter gasket, as well as the upper gasket seal for the engine, which I will be doing that next, guys. I know I'm gonna get criticism in the comments down below. Why aren't you changing the oil seals? But I will be doing that, guys. So I'm removing the second pulley right below that. It's really tight, so I'm gonna use my adapter set. Definitely get one of these, guys. It was $7 at your AutoZone, your local auto stores. So I'm using a tiny ratchet handle here, you see here, and the adapter, as well as my Torx driver T50, just to get in there and get the get that out. So I'm gonna loosen it with the Torx with the ratchet handle, but I'm gonna eventually just use my hands. As you see here, I'm pushing my hands in there. I'm doing this for also the lowermost pulley as well. So once that's done, I'm just going to use my hands to unscrew it. As you see here, there's a metal bar in front of on top of my hands. You might want to move that back and forth depending on what pulley you're taking out. It's like a pipe, metal pipe. I think it's a coolant pipe. And that's it. I'm going to inspect that. That looks a little rusted inside. Remember, I just replaced this 2 years ago. A little under 2 years ago is when these were replaced in the cars. So they're prematurely squeaking. That's why I'm taking them back out. So I'm inspecting. I'm going to go down deep and get the last pulley down there. I'm going to use that, just my hands. I already got it loose. I'm just use that and turn. Use my hands to get that out. As you see here, I'm just going to turn to get that out. See the condition here. There's oil leaking onto this pulley. I'm looking at that, and I'm not sure where that oil is coming from. I think it's coming from one of the so this pulley was worse for wear compared to the other ones. Look at that dust coming off of that. A lot of dust, a lot of gunk coming off of that thing. It's covered in some sort of tar there. I don't know what's that about. That might have been after I took the belts off. I don't believe the belts were actually on that with the tar there. So I'm going to look at the new and compare to the old. This is very important because before you put these onto your car, the new ones, you want to know what's happening to the old ones. Especially in my case, these failed prematurely. The system is squeaking within 2 years and within 10,000 miles. Definitely, I'm replacing these. So I'm going to look and see what's happening. I believe it's that lowermost pulley at the bottom there that's causing the squeak and the rattle. The squeaking sound, because it's the worst one out of all the pulleys I took out. It's covered in a lot of gunk, a lot of stuff. Gonna do a little spin test, see, where the source of that sound was coming from. And this is not very helpful. I'm not an expert in pulleys, so this did not help me at all find out which pulley was making that sound. So, I'm gonna assume all the pulleys are bad, so I'm gonna replace all of them. Don't be cheap here, guys. Bad things can happen if you don't do this or do the whole thing. So I'm just going to inspect. I'm going to clean this out. I have a little bit of oil leaking, a lot of oil actually. I'm going to clean all that out before putting new things in. And engine's all clean. I'm going to start with my uppermost pulley, not the tensioner one. I'm sorry, the lowermost pulley there. Just so I have space to get to that. Now what I'm going to do is just use my hands to just get that screw mounted, and then just screw it as tight as I can with my hands. The second lowest pulley there, I'm going to put that in with my hands. I'm not going to go with the ratchet right away. I'm just going to use my hands, get my fingers on that tip of the bolt, and just start screwing it in. And then I'm going to go back with the breaker bar and the ratchet handle to tighten everything up. You could torque it to spec. I just didn't have a torque wrench with me, so I'm just torquing it as is. There's also something inside the pulley there. You could use that to also tighten it, as you see there. So if you're screwing these back in, you could use that inner ring there to tighten it back to the car. So that's the final pulley that's going in. This one is tricky to get in. My previous video, when I did this, I realized it took me a minute or two to figure it out. You want to go low and then bring it back up to seat it into the socket. It's not going to make sense until you're in there looking at it. My engine was still hot for some weird reason, so I put gloves on here, as you see. So I'm going to go in and then come up and then seat it into the seat the bolt into the socket. I remember this dual pulley system only has one bolt that connected to the car. You do not touch in the second bolt. And also you do not want to remove, there's a pin that holds the tensioner. Leave that pin in there. I believe in my previous video I removed that pin, but I'm going to leave it in this time. And you'll see why later on in the video, why that was important for me to leave the pin in, because it made the job way easier than it was when I did it in the winter time and I took that pin out and I had to go back and tension the belt into the system. Yeah. So I'm just going to go with the ratchet, get a nice tightness on that. I'm going to do this with all the pulleys, as you see that, because that ratchet, the slim ratchet, definitely invest in one of those. The slim ratchets get you into tight spaces. In this case, this will be a perfect example of where slim, skinny ratchet comes in real handy. So I'm going to use my breaker bar to sort of torque it, kind of feel torque. I've been doing this for a lot of years, so I kind of have a feel for the torque of things. I'm not an expert, but I do have a good feel for it because I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, guys. So I'm just tightening everything down. And I'm going to double and triple check everything. And the belts go on last. I have my diagram, so I remember now exactly where the belt goes in this system, because it could be real tricky. Don't forget the dust caps, guys. I almost forgot my dust caps. So put those dust caps back on before you put the belts in. Okay, guys, so we're almost done. I have the belts routed exactly the way I took them out. It's important to draw this diagram because this is what you'll be following. Don't rely on a Bentley diagram. Don't rely on any online diagram, because all these cars, even with the same engine, the belt routing is very different between cars, even same model cars. So follow your diagram. So once your belt is looped around all the pulleys, the last pulley you're going to loop the belt over is the alternator pulley there. It has a very deep groove on the lip, so it'll just seat right into that pulley and catch. Do not remove the pin. Leave that tensioner pin in the whole time you're doing this. Last time I took the pin out, I believe, and then had to release the tension and then get the belt over. But this way was really easy, actually. I don't know why I did it, why it was different last time, but and I remembered someone commented in my first video that I wasn't supposed to remove that pin until the belt was fully routed. So everything looks good. I'm going to double check everything with my diagram, make sure all the loops are, the belt goes over all the pulleys the right way. So far it looks good. I'm going to double check and then remove the pin. So I got the pin out. Real easy. Like I said, this DIY is about 20 minutes, maybe less now. Now that I'm doing it in a warm weather, I realize how easy it is. It's pretty straightforward. The only reason this video is long is because I'm going through and explaining each point. But fairly easy DIY with very little tools. All I'm using is Torx breaker bar kind of extension ratchet. Hey guys, the moment of truth. Let's see if this thing, if it starts. Hopefully the engine doesn't explode this time. Sounds good. There's no rattle. Let's take a look. All good. There's no rattling, as you could hear. Overall, the whole DIY is less than 20 minutes. Didn't really need any special tools other than my hands. And the breaker bar and the Torx adapter set really helps, makes this job easier. But very easy work. Replace the entire system. Don't just replace the pulleys. Replacing the belts ain't gonna do nothing. You'll still probably hear the squeaking. Parts and everything was actually cheaper at FCP. I paid less than $149 for this, but with shipping and handling and taxes, it came with like $180. But it's a good deal. Buy OEM parts. Do not buy the gray market made in China stuff, because then you'll be replacing these every couple of months. So that's my FCP seal. I ordered this, today's Wednesday. I ordered this on Monday night at like 9 p.m. And it came today at 11 a.m. Today's Wednesday. So I know they ship quick. I live in New York, in Westchester, and they ship from Milford, Connecticut. So I could have even driven it. It's about an hour drive from where I live to this to their warehouse. There was even an option to pick it up at the warehouse, but I decided just to have it shipped. The car is squeaking, but it's not too bad that. And that's our only car now. So that's one of our daily driver cars. So. In the past, when my belts and pulleys were squeaking, I got myself like 3 months to replace it. That's everything that comes in this kit. I'm just black out my address when I edit the video. Simple. So we have belts ordered. The kit comes with belts. You know, it's not gonna break the bank to replace the belts, and you just want everything clean and fresh in that engine bay. Now I'm gonna eventually have to tackle that leaking oil seal. And now the weather's getting cold. It's fall. Oil, if you have leaking oil in your engine, especially a BMW, you will start to notice more leaking now that the season has changed. So we have belt drive components, the belts. This looks a little bit different than before. It's strange. These always look used when you get them. I don't know why. So that's my my tensioner pulley. Here, it comes pre-tensioned with that little bar. Do not remove that bar until after you install it. So if you get this, don't pull that bar out. Install this first, then you could detension and then remove that bar. But it always looks used, you know, when you get these things. It smells used too. I don't know, but it's clean, I'm sure. So that's one of the pulleys there. Boom, the main pulley, the tensioner pulley. You have the idler pulley. This is the one that maybe chirps when you hear that chirping. And that's that. Smooth. Comes with the dust caps. I like that. You could also reuse your dust caps if you don't have new dust caps for your replacement. I believe this is the deflection pulley. This is another $150 from FCP. And I'm going to just get this in the car.